Fast Kitty friends, I'm so glad to be back. Today is a quick little crochet tank top tutorial featuring the herringbone double crochet stitch. This is a perfect layering top that you can wear alone or under a shirt or on top of a shirt. This is the yarn I used. It's rated as a size 3 weight yarn, but I think it's mislabeled. I think it's really a size 4 weight, and for this pattern I recommend a size 4 weight yarn. And we'll be starting out using two different hook sizes, a size K or 6.5mm hook and a size J or 6mm hook. So we'll begin with a size J hook, start with a slip knot, and chain 8. We are creating the tank top from the bottom up, and we are starting with the ribbing, and this is the first row. So turn your chain over, and in the second chain, place a single crochet and single crochet in each chain, and you will have 7 single crochets in this first row. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn. For the next row, single crochet in the back loops in each stitch. When you reach the end of the row, chain 1, turn, and repeat row 2. And repeat row 2 until your ribbing reaches your desired width and is an even number of rows. My ribbing is 46 rows wide. The remaining rows of the front will grow at about 2 inches in width, so keep that in mind for your beginning ribbing. I'm a size small, so I'm aiming for my top to be 18 inches wide. Now we will switch to our size K hook, chain 1, and we will now turn and work along the long edge of the ribbing. We will be working in the herringbone stitch, so in those first 2 side loops of the first stitch, yarn over, insert your hook, pull through a loop like a slip stitch, and pull through the first loop on your hook, chain 1, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. We will be placing a herringbone stitch in each row across your ribbing, so I'm going to aim for the center of that ridge of the next row. I yarned over, pulled through a loop, and pulled through the first loop on my hook like a slip stitch, chain 1, and then pull through the remaining 2 loops on the hook. So now we'll go through it a few more times, and so I'm aiming for those 2 side loops of the next row. And now I'm aiming for the center of the ridge of the next row. It's good to keep your stitches consistent. It looks nice when your tank is completed. So repeat your herringbone stitches across this row, and I'll show you how to end the row. So here I am at the second to last row. I'm completing my last herringbone stitch. And the last stitch will go into the middle of that last ridge, and we will be making an extended single crochet. So insert your hook, pull through a loop, chain 1 through that first loop on the hook, yarn over, and pull through both loops on your hook. Herringbone stitches really tend to lean to the left, and so this extended single crochet helps it line up more straight. And now we'll chain 1 and turn. And in the first stitch, where you just created your extended single crochet, we will create another herringbone stitch. I like to begin my herringbone rows with a chain 1. It also helps to compensate for the leaning. It helps the edge of the row look straighter. And continue with your herringbone stitch across to the end of the row, ending with an extended single crochet in the last stitch. And so I should insert here, there are 45 herringbone stitches and 1 extended single crochet stitch for each row, for a total of 46 stitches for each of these rows. And here I've completed about 3 rows of the herringbone stitch, and you can see how it makes your piece grow. Now the ribbing is about 17 inches wide, and the herringbone stitches have come out to about 18 inches wide. So now is a good place to make sure your piece is coming out to the size you'd like. If not, you can just go back and add or subtract rows to your ribbing. So here I've continued on for 8 inches of the herringbone stitch. Now place stitch markers 6 stitches in on each side and 2 more at the center, leaving 6 stitches unworked. And also, when you reach this row, you can leave a long tail and finish off your yarn. Turn your piece over, and at the first stitch marker, join your yarn and chain 2. I will be showing you how to do an easy decrease for this first armhole edge. And now herringbone stitch into the next stitch. That chain 2 will not be counted as a stitch for the next row. And now herringbone stitch until you reach the last 2 stitches just before the next stitch marker. We will be combining our usual last herringbone stitch and extended single crochet stitch into one stitch. You basically just begin the next 2 stitches without the final pull through, and then pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And now chain 2 and turn. These first 2 rows each have a decrease at the beginning and the end, so we'll go through it one more time. So I've chained 2, and then I'll herringbone crochet into the next stitch, and we ignore the chain 2 for the next row, so that is what creates the decrease. And now we'll herringbone stitch until you get to the last 2 stitches of this row. So there, I'm pointing to that chain 2 from the previous row. You ignore that, and here I went a little too far. So I'm going to combine the last 2 stitches into one. So I'll begin my herringbone stitch. I'll yarn over, insert my hook, pull through, make a slip stitch, and then a chain stitch. And then into the next stitch, insert your hook, pull up a loop, chain 1, and then pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So this is how the shaping will go for the rest of the first strap. We've already completed rows 1 and 2, and the neckline continues to have decreases for the next 2 rows, and for rows 3 and 4 on the armhole side, it's just an even row, and then the next decrease is at row 5, and then you go evenly until you get to row 8, and then the armhole side has another decrease, and then it's just even count until you get to the end, and I ended up with 7 stitches on the 11th row. And then just repeat the same decreases at the same rows for the other strap. For the back piece, I decided to shape it a little differently. I kind of scooped it in all at once, so I placed the markers at the 6th stitch on both sides, and then I made all my decreases from rows 1 through 4. And now I've gone ahead and lined up my front piece on top of my back piece with the right sides facing out, and you go ahead and stitch up the shoulder seams and the side seams with the long tail. Now my seams are all done, and now we'll work on the neckline trim. So I've gone ahead and switched to an even smaller hook, a size I or 5.5 millimeter, and somewhere off center on the back neckline, I'm going to join my yarn with a slip knot, chain 1, and half double crochet into the first stitch. And now we'll just half double crochet evenly around the entire neckline, and when you come to the end, join to the first stitch. And I've come to the end of that first neckline row, and I'm joining to the first stitch with a slip stitch, chain 1, and you don't need to turn for the next row. And the next stitch, we're going to do a half double crochet around the post of the first stitch. The next stitch will be around the back post, so yarn over, insert your hook from the back, go around the front of the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And just keep alternating your front post half double crochet and back post half double crochet until you get to the end of this row. And so here I've come to the end of my front post, back post, half double crochet row, and I'm joining to the first stitch, and then you can now finish off. And for the armholes, I just completed 1 row of evenly spaced single crochet around the entire armhole. And that's it, she's all done. These are so fun and easy to make, you'll want to make one for each season.